Well, it looks like Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne are starting to fancy each other. Unfortunately, Barbara and Matoya are as well. Welcome back, everyone. This is Jason. This video is going to be doing my review of Gotham Season 1, Episode number 9, Harvey Dent. Enter Harvey Dent. Yeah, as we well know that Harvey Dent down the road becomes the the foe of Batman, otherwise known as Two-Face. Um, this is done really well in this episode. If you notice, almost throughout the whole episode, with the exception of when we first see him outside with Jim Gordon getting introduced to him and the rest of the his posse, Bullock and Montoya and the others. When Harvey Dent is inside, for example, when he's doing the the projector and he's in the room with Jim Gordon and he's talking to him, the light is shining on the one side of the face, dark on the other. Later on in the episode, when he's trying to intimidate I can't think of his name. Uh, the guy he's going after in the case in this episode. Excuse me. Again, we see the light shining on the one side of the face, very dark on the other, as opposed to the rest of the people in the room. I think they did this on purpose. It's kind of like foreshadowing, you know. It was really well done how they did this. So I thought that was very cool. And we see, he's got that, crisp, clean side, just like Jim Gordon does. He's fighting crime, but then all of a sudden, he flips a switch and just completely loses it, and it's like, oh, you start to see he's got probably more of this character in him now than he thinks he does. Um, so yeah, I don't know how much he's gonna be in the series, um, but yeah, it's gonna be cool to watch this figure grow as well. Um, Another figure that's constantly growing in the series. Well, they all are, but as far as characters who become the criminals is Enigma. Who works alongside Gotham PD. Behind the scenes stuff. Um, Man, he just keeps evolving, and he just gets a little more creepy with each episode. He really does. Um, they were working with the explosives in the case against Ian Hargrove, the gentleman. It's the bad guy who this episode is revolved around, while all these other things in other things in Gotham are going on. He's doing behind the scenes research on these explosive, and he puts a hole through iron that's like this thick, and it's like he gets all excited and he's like, "Ooh!" So yeah, you can tell his character's slowly unraveling, and but for once in this episode, um, and not that it hasn't happened before, but usually when he approaches the other guys like Bullock and Jim Gordon, it's awkward, it's poorly timed. In this episode, he finally gets some recognition, and he's like all excited about it. So, we had we see him get more and more frustrated with each episode, but finally we had some positive go in his direction. So, things like that are going to be what doesn't push him over the edge, quite as quickly as maybe some other people in this series. So, yeah, another character that's evolving. Good to see. Um, So yeah, and all in all, they finally get Hargrove in the end of the episode away from the uh, the Russians, which actually had was a little confusing. It comes out in the end that actually, you know, it was the Gotham PD and Falcone that took him out at the end. Kind of weird, but stuff like this, you almost got to watch the episode to end, to make sure you catch who's all doing what. Um, but I think I got it. So yeah, he gets sent. Hargrove gets sent off to Arkham Asylum, and it looks like a lot of people are getting sent off to the asylum, and just I don't know what they're using. If that's a real building in the background or if that is something that they digitally made. But man, that building is creepy as hell. It really is. It's quite the structure. It certainly does look like some kind of ancient asylum. So yeah, and like I've said in other videos that I've done on Gotham, when you look at the city, the landscape, the buildings they use, the structuring. Um, that's not the word I want to use. But anyways, it's like the city itself is a character, and it's so cool, and also how they use, you know, obvious, modern things like the vehicles. The vehicles are fairly modern. Some are a little older, but the architecture, that's the word I was trying to think of. The architecture of these buildings, and they they live in nice. Like Jim Gordon has a nice hotel. Actually, it's Barbara's, but so like their living places are modern, classy but modern. But then all of a sudden, you'll see something like, was it last episode or the episode before? You see like an ancient typewriter. This episode, there was, what was it? I saw something in the episode that stood out like a sore thumb because it's like, oh my God, who uses that? Oh, it was like an old radio with an old dial on it, the old numbers on it. I think that's what it was. I think that was in Enigma's area where he was working with the explosives. I think that's where it was. I have to go back and look. But yeah, every once in a while they'll throw in something classic from like anywhere between 70 to 100 years ago. Something something really classic like that. It's cool. So um, it's funny what they're doing with timepieces in here. Another point I wanted to make in this video was the relationship. Um, different relationships going on in the series, still evolving. Uh, where the last episode left off was Jim was trying to get home to Barbara, but she left. Now, when he came home in the beginning of this episode, he brought Selena Kyle with him. So she is going to become one of the main keys in solving this case. He has to protect her. He has to put her into, what do they call that, protective custody. And while Gotham is so corrupt and the precinct that he works in has so many moles in it, like he said, he doesn't know where else to put her. He doesn't know who else to trust. I mean, he can trust his initial crew like Bullock and, well, obviously he can't trust Montoya because that's where Barbara went to now. But but yeah, there's very few people that he can actually trust. So he decides to take Selena Kyle out to Bruce Wayne's mansion, his house, and he's like, "Well, this is where you're gonna stay." And Selena Kyle's pretty indifferent about it. She's thankful, but yet she's trying to be tough around the edges. And right off the bat, Alfred's like, "Oh no, this ain't gonna work." And Bruce Wayne is like, "Well, if she's gonna help solve the case, then yes, this needs to happen." So, and then throughout the episode, we see the relationship between Selina Kyle grow with Bruce Wayne, and it's it's so funny and it's so cute. It almost makes you bust out with a couple of awes, during the episode. um, it's like, ooh, young teenage love, and she's flirting with him, and he's almost like scared by it because he's probably never had a girlfriend before, is what it looks like. So she's flirting with him, like, oh, if you throw a bagel at me, I'll let you kiss me. And he's like, ooh, yeah. By the end of the episode, they're learning a lot from each other. In one significant scene in this episode, Alfred is trying to educate or teach Bruce Wayne how to fight. So they're boxing in the backyard on the back porch. And so Selina Kyle goes out and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, well, Alfred's teaching me how to fight." And she's like, "Okay, this is a really dangerous area." And he's like, "Well, if I go to Gotham, this will help me." And she's like, "They don't fight with gloves in Gotham." So it's kind of like, wah, wah. Oh man, yeah. So she's certainly showing her tough side, as in she's got street smarts, and you know, he's trying. Bruce Wayne is trying to toughen himself up. He's trying to train himself. He's trying to, get ready for Gotham, because mentally that vigilante is growing inside of him that will eventually become Batman. And another scene is he's holding his breath underwater and he's timing himself. And Selina Kyle is like, holding your breath underwater is not going to help you in Gotham. And by the end of the episode, when they're playing with each other and teasing each other, and they're both laughing and running around the library, Alfred finally sees that this is a good thing for Bruce and that it's going to be okay. And he tells Jim Gordon, even though this is all, probably not the greatest situation, they're going to get through it. And he actually calls Kat a breath of fresh air in the house. And he's like, oh, really? So yeah, I don't know how long she's going to stay in the house. We'll have to find out in upcoming episodes. But seeing Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne interact for the first time, really, because she's been keeping an eye on him since episode 1. She witnessed the murders and everything, so she's been around him. But this is the first time they really met, and yeah, I think Bruce Wayne is really, like Alfred says, like I said at the beginning of the video, taking a fancy. Yeah. So yeah, good episode. Last thing I'm going to touch on is Penguin is really, man, every single episode he gets stronger and stronger, like, psychologically, gaining power, influencing people. Just great to see his character evolve as well. So now he's got the girl, and I'm sorry, I forget her name. The girl that's with Falcone, spying on him. Now he's spying on her, and it's like, and he's, if you leave him, I'll kill you, or something to that effect. It's wow, yeah, it's really something. So he, you can tell where it's going. He's going to end up single-handedly, some way or another, taking out all of them: Fish Mooney, Falcone, and Maroni, which is going to lead to Penguin basically taking over Gotham as like the head, like mob guy. Um, yeah, which is pretty hysterical. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's it for this one. Yeah, I can't wait to see where all these characters go in the next one. Um, I'm assuming there's only going to be a few more episodes left. I'm not sure. All these series have some kind of like Christmas break, so I'm sure that'll be coming up. And then in the meantime, um, I know my Gotham videos aren't garnishing a lot of views, but I'm going to keep on doing them because A, I think it's one of the best series out there, and B, I think it's one of those ones that it's just slow to catch on to people. I'm sure guys like me are watching it on a regular basis, but it's not as big as like The Walking Dead or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on doing these no matter what, and hopefully it'll catch on, and we'll see what happens. All right, so that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, guys.